What's it like being siblings to a special needs son? Can you remember? Or a brother? Especially when you're younger.
It's hard. You don't understand necessarily why the way they are. Seems like the universe revolves around them.
Mm-hmm. You don't know how to answer the other kids' questions either.
Mm-hmm.
When they ask, what's wrong with him? And you say, he has autism. Like, what's autism? I don't know, something with his brain.
Yeah.
He just doesn't understand. But don't make fun of him, or I'll hit you.
Yeah.
I think it's hard being a sibling to someone with special needs because it's really easy for your family to revolve around them. I was just telling them, we watched the movie Wonder, and in that movie they show the perspective of the sister, and she feels like her parents don't even see her, and that the whole universe just revolves around her brother. They drop everything they're doing if he's sick or things like that. And a lot of times it feels that way, like you're second best, that, you know, your achievement is
not as good, or you're looked over.
Sure. Yeah. Or you could do the same thing expecting that great result of, I put my shoes on, and it's like, hurry, get in the car.
Yeah. Seems like sometimes the patience isn't as much there for when you make a mistake for when your sibling is.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, the special needs sibling does need more help, but it's knowing, having mercy on your other kids too, and that they're trying to learn things. And like a lot of times Paul would get stuff for free, and just because he has special needs, and then Elizabeth and I would just stand there and they wouldn't even notice us.
Yeah.
But we'd be there too.
Yeah, or you go to a garage sale and they'd give him half the garage sale, it felt like, and you ask if you could pay, you know, $2 instead of $5, trying to learn the bargaining chip, and they say no, it's $5. Yeah. And they had just given a $10 thing to your brother, and you're like, oh, okay, so he doesn't have to pay anything, but I do because I'm normal, even though I'm a kid.
I think it's hard because you want to help special needs siblings, and the parents want to help their special needs child. But sometimes it enables them because the world doesn't operate that way. Mm-hmm. I mean, if they grow up being the center of attention, they're going to think they're the center of attention for the rest of their life to the rest of the world. Mm-hmm. And that's not reality. And so it's like helping them be a part, not the center.
Right.
That's an important lesson for your kids to learn. I mean, just because the world does not revolve around me, does not revolve around Elizabeth or around Paul.
Right.
We're walking together in this life.
As a family.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was something we learned early on, and Mom and Dad tried to really emphasize, is that we're family, because I think they started to realize that Paul was the center. And so transitioning to make an effort to actually make him a part. And so having him stop, especially when you're in the middle of telling a story to your parents about something you're excited about, and he comes in, barges in, and just like takes over the whole scene, and you're like, well, never mind. I have nothing to say. I'm worthless. Nothing I have to say is of value, because whatever he's about to say has 100 times more value. And it meant a lot when they would tell him, Paul, you interrupted. You need to wait a minute. Once Elizabeth is finished, then you can tell us. Mm-hmm. That was really helpful as a sibling, to have a boundary. And for Paul, too, because then he learned how to enter into conversation, and not just, because that's what he's trying to do, is enter into conversation. But if he doesn't know how, you stand and you wait for a pause, and then you speak. Mm-hmm. And so helping them, they don't recognize the pause in the conversation, because everything is just words, but helping them recognize, here's a pause. Okay, now go. And they can, as they mature and grow, they recognize that Paul now, he does a really good job recognizing when there's a pause in the conversation.
He's a lot better.
Sometimes he has to be reminded, but who doesn't have to be reminded to not interrupt?
Mm-hmm.
because I do. I have to remind myself to let someone finish their thought.
Mm-hmm.
I think, though, too, as a sibling, it's important to include them in what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And not to just be like, well, whatever, I feel hurt by them, or...
Yeah, and feel closed off.
Yeah.
But it's remembering that they do want to be a part.
Mm-hmm. They just aren't quite sure how.
Mm-hmm.
And so taking the moment to just assess and see, okay, how can you be a part in this moment?
Mm-hmm.
And even changing your own plan sometimes to, a game that they can actually participate in. And if you play one game that they can participate in, and then you play, something that isn't as easily for them to participate in, they still feel included.
Mm-hmm.
And Paul's a time guy, and so it makes him feel like he's a part of the family.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's really important that they feel a part and not the center.
Yeah.
Because it makes them see other people.
Yeah.
What about as an adult? Now that he's an adult and you guys are adult, how is it different now than it was when you were little?
Life has changed a lot since Elizabeth and I are both married now. It's I think it's hard for Paul.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just with your other siblings, it's learning to still try to make time for them. And still, because, when you're kids, you're almost at the same intellect level. And so it's not demeaning Paul, but encouraging him and helping him with his strengths.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think as an adult, it's difficult because you don't want to treat them as a child. I think that's the biggest thing. To always be treating them like they're older than they actually are. I really appreciate that and remember that as a kid, that Mom would talk about having to treat Paul like he's 15 when he was 8 and 30 when he's 15, expecting those ages and expecting teaching because he has to have repetition in order to remember. And so if we treat them like they're 4, they're going to stay 4. If we treat them like they're older and help them and stretch them into places they might not want to go, but once they experience it, they'll enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
They're safe places. I think Paul still doesn't like to try new things.
Not very many people do. I mean, I don't always like trying new things.
Yeah. But just encouraging him and knowing that this is a safe thing, and that when we make it through this, you're gonna enjoy it and you're going to like this.
I find myself a lot because life does change and your interest changes through time. A lot of Paul's interests have always stayed the same. Not that that's bad, but it's still trying to find that common ground. And how important that is of when Paul and I communicate, we'll quote SpongeBob or something like that together because it's that's where he's thinking, and so then we'll have a lot of fun. But it's so he still feels I don't know, it's helping encouraging those fun memories as kids, or just doing silly things together because that's what he enjoys doing. And it is, like you said, helping them to aspire to bigger things, but too recognizing that they aren't always there, and so it's mixing in both, I guess, if that makes sense.
I think as an adult too, respecting his decisions has been a really big one.
That's good.
Especially for when he misses out, when he chooses to stay home, and we've asked him to come with us to do something because Ty and I are doing something, or we want to be with him. It's not that we don't want to be with him. We want to be with him. We enjoy him. He's fun to go ice skating with and just to town with. But when he chooses and then he's disappointed and he makes a fuss, which I think we all remember when we were 14, 15 and we were trying to make our own decisions and then we missed out, and we're upset, of saying, hey, it's okay, but you just chose. Encouraging him that you chose this choice, be happy with it, and move on. It's okay. The world isn't ending because you chose to do something else, and because you missed out doesn't mean that we're not going to do it again.
Yeah, and it's okay to make your own choice. You don't have to
Yeah.
feel bad because you feel like you might have disappointed me. It's okay to choose to stay home. I mean, we'd like you to be with us, but it's like, if you want to do that, that's okay. I mean, we'll miss you, but you don't have, and don't feel bad later on because we had fun without you. But it's just learning that it's good to be apart with people.
I think, though, too, we've seen a part where he missed out and then he doesn't want to do it again, or he doesn't want to engage again, and so he kind of recluses sometimes, and that's when we're like, okay, you're coming, you don't have a choice, and he's all huffy puffy, and you get in the car and you start having fun and just talking with him and joking like you always do with your siblings, and then he's glad that he came, and when he's thankful, it's really nice.
I guess just throughout all life, it's learning to walk side by side with your special needs sibling, and not trying your hard not to let them be the center, but also recognize that they need help. And if you have to explain things a few more times, it's okay, because they'll catch on eventually. And just learning how to include, but not, I guess this is the biggest thing, learning how to include, but not let them be the center.
Right, but let them not fall behind either. It's a strange balance.
Yep.
And if that means a sacrifice from you every once in a while, but then also it's really nice when they sacrifice too. It feels nice when Paul takes a moment and